Inferno is a 2013 mystery thriller novel written by American author Dan Brown and published on the 14th of May 2013. Daniel Gerard Brown is one of the most famous modern writers. His most famous work is The Da Vinci's Code, and it has sold more than 85 million copies. Widely criticized by many Catholics, Brown has even been accused of being a member of a Masonic sect, mainly because of the aforementioned novel. However, the writer himself has declared that he would be potentially friendlier towards Freemasonry rather than the Vatican, as it is clearly shown by his books. Brown is very fond of anagrams, puzzles, riddles, and treasure hunts. Initially, he received a Catholic education. After his degree, he moved to Hollywood to pursue a career as a singer-songwriter, and then moved to Spain in order to study art history at the University of Seville. After a few years, he left the university and started to write books with the help of his wife, who still works and collaborates with him for his researches. Inferno is mainly set in Florence, but the settings moves to Venice and then Istanbul in the last part of the film. Robert Langdon, the main character, is a professor of iconography at the Harvard University. He is an expert of symbolism and an enthusiast for art history. The plot starts with the professor, confused and without any memories, laying in a hospital bed. When he woke up, there is a young and pretty doctor beside him called Sienna Brooks, who tells him that he is in Florence and that he arrived the night before at the hospital, covered in blood as a consequence of a gunshot wound, vaguely mumbling, "Very sorry, very sorry." Here begins the adventure of the two protagonists, who will try to solve the mystery by exploring Florence and its artworks, while running from a mysterious killer who follows them. Each thing that they discover during their adventure will be a part of the gigantic and complicated jigsaw puzzle made up of secret societies, rich scientists, pestilences, and so on. Compared to the book, the first and the central part of the film are pretty accurate. The framework of the history that is composed by characters, settings, and so on is very similar to the book's one. On the contrary, the end of the novel and the villain's plan are completely different. It is a Dan Brown's thriller, so from the beginning to the end of the work, there are themes such as privacy, government conspiracy, and secret religious societies. The title refers to Dante's Inferno. In fact, Dante himself is very important for the whole plot, as well as Italian art and history in general. Professor Langdon is a great expert of Italian culture, and he let himself to be led by Italy's past in order to resolve the mystery. The main and innovative theme is overpopulation. The villain wants to resolve this issue that will leave us without any natural resources or living space. In the book, he wants to unleash a virus, called Inferno, that will make 1/3 of the population sterile by modifying the genetic code of the infected person. On the contrary, in the movie, the virus acts just like a pathogen, causing the death of those who contract it. Moreover, in the book, the circularity of history and life is a central theme, with many parallelisms with the Black Plague. Even if this illness had decimated 1/3 of the European population, it led directly to Renaissance and Italian art's development. In the film, even this theme has been considerably diminished. The book is fascinating and astonishing. It is an important work, mainly because it introduces the reader to a real, urgent issue that is, however, ignored by a great majority of the public opinion. It is a very captivating reading, because the reader can perfectly identify himself both with the villain and with the main character. Dan Brown is one of my favorite authors, also because in his works of fiction there are many elements taken from reality. The main characters get their leads from artworks such as Dante's Death Mask, the Horses of St. Mark in Venice, Palazzo Vecchio in Florence, and so on. Dan Brown loves Italy so much that he has set many of his works in this country. It is very simple for an Italian devoted reader to follow the itinerary of Brown's main characters. I really appreciated the book, especially since I agreed with the villain many times. His aim is actually to give a better future to next generation. On the other hand, it is not right to decide arbitrarily for the life of 1/3 of world's population, just like a god. So I also agreed with the main characters that try to stop the villain. I was beset, and I still am, by indecision. I was very disappointed by the film. The theme of overpopulation is overshadowed, and the remedy to this problem is banal, just like the death of 1/3 of the world population. In this way, it has completely disappeared the instructive internal fight that undergoes in the reader while reading the book. In addition, the film ends with Robert Langdon that prevents the spreading of the virus in a very obvious way. Personally, I prefer reading the book before watching the film. For this reason, I am used to remain disappointed because, in my opinion, the book is always better than the film. I chose Inferno for the reason that the film has left a sour taste in my mouth, while the book was extraordinary. I had very high expectations for the movie, and I had to watch it several times to avoid thinking regretfully of the book. Overall, the movie is well made and reflects discreetly Brown's work, but the disappointment will stay forever.